Good morning, or afternoon, whenever you're watching it. Right, let's get on. Chapter 7. I haven't got much time, so I better be quick. So, he received a mysterious box in the post that he thought might have been the DVD about the program that he was wanting to watch. However, it was flesh-eating maggots. To say I was shocked is an understatement. Here I was, holding a plastic box filled with flesh-eating maggots. If the lid of the box had come off, even just a bit, the maggots would be all over me and starting to munch their way through me. Quickly, I pushed the plastic box back inside the packet and stuffed that into my school bag. What could I do? I couldn't just throw them away because they would crawl along until they found someone and ate them. If I told Mum and Dad, it would cause a panic in the house and I'd get the blame and get told off. The only thing to do was to keep them sealed tightly inside the plastic container and take them to school with me. Oops, I can see there's going to be a problem there. Where at least I could keep an eye on them until I worked out what to do. When I got to school, Paul was already in the playground blowing up a blue balloon. "What's that for?" I asked. "This is the sun for my project." "It's blue," I pointed out. "The sun is red." Factoid. The sun. The sun is so big that it takes up 99.86% of the total mass of our solar system. So almost 100% of the solid mass, I presume would be the easiest way to think about it, in the solar system is made up of the sun. So all the other planets and asteroids and moons all put together would only make 8.86%, so that would only be 0.14% is all the other planets and asteroids and space dust and meteorites and things like that. Now that's in our solar system, not in the universe, which is obviously, or even in our Milky Way, which is obviously much, much, much bigger. "I couldn't find a red balloon big enough," he replied, and then started blowing it up even more. "Stop," I said. "I've got something terrible to tell you." Paul gave one last puff of his balloon, and it burst with a loud bang. "Ah," he said. He gazed at the shriveled piece of blue rubber in his hand and then looked at me accusingly. "What did you do to my balloon?" he demanded. "I didn't do anything," I protested. "It just went bang. You blew it up too much. Anyway, I've got to tell you about the maggots." "What maggots?" he asked. "The ones I was telling you and Suki about yesterday. The ones that eat into people's flesh." "Ugh, gross," he said, pulling a face. I patted my school bag. "Well, I've got some." Paul looked at me, stunned. "You what?" he asked. "I've got some of these maggots in here." Paul began moving back. "Stay away from me." "No, it's okay," I said. "They're in a plastic container." "If they can eat through a body, surely they can eat through plastic," he said. I must admit that was something I hadn't thought about before. I took a quick look at the packet and the plastic box inside it, but everything seemed secure. "Nope, they're okay," I said. "How did you get hold of them?" demanded Paul. I noticed he was standing about 5 meters away from me, which meant he had to shout so I could hear him. Even more than the social distancing. You know, we need to keep 2 meters away from each other at the moment. "Don't shout," I said. "Everyone will hear. Come nearer so we can talk." "Not likely," said Paul. "They're safe," I assured him. "The television company sent them to me, so they must know what they're doing." Still not looking entirely convinced, Paul edged a little bit nearer. "Why did he send them to you?" he asked. "It was a mistake," I said. and I told him about how I'd emailed the company asking for a DVD of the programme, and instead they'd sent me a packet of the actual maggots. Well, I'm not sitting in the same class as you if you've got those in the bag. They might escape and start eating me. They won't escape, I said. They might. It was in this film I saw, The Curse of the Maggot People. These maggots came from outer space and invaded Earth and began eating their way through people's brains and controlling them. Obviously science fiction. This is not a film. This is real life, I protested. I'm still not sitting in the same room as those maggots, he insisted. Well, what can I do with them? I demanded. I can't just throw them away. Put them in your locker, said Paul. I thought it over. I don't know, I said, doubtfully. They'll be as safe in your locker as they are in your bag, said Paul. At least the packet won't get swung around like if it was in your bag. Okay, I said, but we've got to work out what to do with them. Ask Suki, suggested Paul. She knows a lot about insects. Factoid. Cockroaches. You know what cockroach is? Oh, yeah. A cockroach is resistant to radiation. This means that cockroaches would likely survive a nuclear attack. So if there was a nuclear war, I've heard this before, and a bomb went off, the cockroaches would probably survive. They're very hardy, we say. They're quite hard to kill, cockroaches. They're not very nice, are they? But they don't bite us. They don't really do a lot to us. They're just, I think it's how they scuttle and move, the way they do that. It just seems creepy. And I think that's why so many people really, really dislike cockroaches. Although, you know, they're just a beetle really at the end of things. They're not really anything different. Although my wife wouldn't say the same. She can't stand them. And in Asia you get the really big ones, and they can be this big, and they fly. You can see them flying across in the streets, and the bodies go down like that, and they go. They don't look very elegant when they're flying. Let's get back to the story. I didn't get a chance to ask Suki about the maggots until break time because she was late. Her terrible little brother, Anwar, had got his head stuck in the railings of a fence on his way to school. Do you know what that means? Like the railings are the separate poles of a metal fence. When we told her, her mouth dropped open in shock. You can't keep them here, she said. Well, I can't keep them at home, I said. Dad and Mum would go mad if they knew about them. You have to take them to the police, she said firmly, or the local health authority. They'll know what to do. Won't I get into trouble? I asked. No, Suki said. In fact, you'll be a hero for handing them in. Being called a hero sounded quite good, so I decided to take them to the health office. All the police, at lunchtime. That way, I wouldn't have to explain to Mum and Dad why I was late coming back from school. As the bell went for lunchtime, I hurried to my locker and opened it. The maggots were gone. Dun, dun, dun. Where have the maggots gone? And are they really that dangerous? Do you think they'd send really dangerous maggots through the post? Who knows? Who's got the maggots? Any predictions? Nope. I suppose a naughty boy who's at the school may have got them. Who would you suggest that could be?